I haven't come across a case like this in 20 years of prosecuting.
She said she'd been being abused and trafficked across the north of England for sex.
Everyone really believed her.
Death threats were made against local restaurant owners.
The town was a step away from anarchy, really.
The keyboard warriors are out, the level of racism.
I was trialled on social media.
There was just about 6, 8 police officers at the bottom of my bed.
It has been very difficult, very, very difficult.
Barrow is a peninsula in South Cumbria, a long way away from most other places. It is isolated, but because of that, it's a really strong and tight community.
It did used to have a good name for itself with the shipbuilding, and then everything's disappearing in Barrow. There's the bad areas and there's good areas.
It's a beautiful town. I've made amazing mates here. I've made an amazing life here.
You will walk down the street and you will see someone you know.
Everyone knew each other, or if you didn't know each other, you'd have heard of them.
So when a story like this breaks, everybody's not just got an opinion on it, everybody knows someone involved in it as well.
In the spring of 2020, a 19-year-old Barrow girl called Ellie Williams published a harrowing Facebook post that would send shockwaves through her community.
They've put lit petrol rags and threatening letters through my letterbox, tried to drown me, strangled me. They've abused me in every way possible. This has been years of me being trafficked to places across Manchester, Yorkshire, Lancashire and Cumbria. These are mostly Pakistani men, and some are business owners.
I remember first seeing, everything on social media, the posts that she put on and all the bruising, etc. And of course it's just heartbreaking, and when you see that, you wanted to get some kind of justice.
A woman from Barrow claimed on Facebook that she was the victim of grooming gangs. She said she'd been being abused and trafficked across the north of England for sex for years.
We had some really serious allegations of grooming, human trafficking, which were getting taken extremely seriously by the force.
It was like a bomb dropping. It really upset people. It really upset me when I first saw it, because of course you think, how on earth has this gone on and people haven't known about it? It felt like one of ours had been treated so badly and let down by everybody.
It was worldwide. Ellie's post had been shared over 100,000 times, and then the Justice for Ellie page that had been set up had over 100,000 followers. There was badges sold, elephant badges. I just felt a bit gutted, really. I just wanted to help her. I set up a crowdfunding page. Some weeks later, it finished on 22,000.
Everyone was very supportive of her cause and her family's cause.
There was a lot of people. I would have said most of Barrow.
Every window you walked past on every street, there was either an elephant logo or a Justice for Ellie logo.
A lot of people gathered in Hollywood Park, and then they were just driving around Barrow as a convoy. There were lots of demonstrations and people voicing their opinions.
Rallies, organising. As a person walking out of your house and seeing that, and nobody actually knew the truth.
Don't judge what you see on Facebook to be true.
Have an open mind. Do not make assumptions. Follow the evidence.
Little did the public know that investigators already had reason to believe that Ellie Williams might be lying, and that she'd been making allegations about multiple men since 2017. Allegations going back to when she was 12 years old.
My immediate thing was to phone the police. A briefing was arranged, and we understood actually through that the work that had been going on around gathering evidence. That was problematic because we could see already at that stage that there was a web of lies that had been created by Ellie. You had to tread really carefully to not do anything that would prejudice the investigation. But of course, the public only knew that side of the story.
People seem to think they knew more about the case than the investigators and the police. The keyboard warriors are out, people getting accused that had nothing to do with the case whatsoever, fleeing their homes, hate crimes, the level of racism. It was just a disgusting state of affairs.
The town was a step away from anarchy, really.
Shops got smashed up and everything, like it was bad.
Blaming a Pakistani, a Muslim, an Asian, a grooming gang to just fuel these lies.
Everyone really believed her.
If we can't talk about it, something's going to fill the vacuum. It just felt like a pressure cooker, building and building and building. And this is what the far right took advantage of.
I'm Nazir Afzal, and I'm the former Chief Crown Prosecutor, and I led nationally on tackling child sexual abuse and violence against women and girls, and particularly what we call street grooming, or what you may call so-called grooming gangs. Because of the nature of the crime, the ethnicity of the perpetrators being disproportionately British Pakistani or British Asian, the far right have decided to focus on it. They say they are there to support the victims or expose perpetrators. The reality is they're only interested in their own agenda. I found that in Rochdale, where they were outside of court every day, and then at one point, in fact, they tried to destroy the case by damaging and attacking a defence team, which came that close to the case being chucked out. And we would never have been able to prosecute that case, and everything else that flowed from it wouldn't have happened. And the vast majority of British Asians detest the perpetrators. They don't want anything to do with these people. They want them brought to justice.
Local Indian restaurants were targeted on social media. They soon found themselves facing vandalism and harassment. To protect their safety, we've interviewed them anonymously.
The focus point was, it was an Asian grooming gang. And if there's not many Asian people here, you're going to be targeted. So.
People thought that you were part of a grooming ring, basically,
yes.
A massive conspiracy.
Yes.
Did you feel safe here?
I'll be honest, no. Not at all.
You had the
window smashed twice. It's all caught on camera. Them come in and smashing the windows with bricks.
So the police told you to take pictures of all these?
All these, yeah. This is just from one evening.
One evening?
Yeah, look, I had idiots like this coming in the shop, swearing at us.
The customers would call the restaurant. They said, "We are coming for dinner. Are you 100% sure it's safe for my kids in your place?" A few customers came in and discussed to their table to each other. "Are you sure if this guy is involved or not?"
You would overhear customers talking in
Yeah.
your restaurant about whether you were
Yeah.
involved in gang rape.
I had little kids, 12-year-olds, going, "Oh, you guys are all nonsense." A lot of racist remarks as well. I started getting abusive phone calls saying that we're going to shoot everyone within the shop, rape my wife in front of my children, and then kill my kids. Police came and basically said, "You need to close for your own safety." Tried and guilty by social media, I would say, definitely. It does affect you. It does take its toll on you.
Before her Facebook post, Ellie Williams had already accused multiple men of rape. One of those was 18-year-old Jordan Trengove. His life would change forever after a night out with Ellie in 2019.
At that time, I wanted to go try for an apprenticeship in the yard, in the shipbuilding yard. Yeah, I was just in the process of getting everything for my application. I was planning my birthday, stuff like that with my mate. I was just living my life. Live a life that a normal person should do. Me and two friends went out and we put on our Snapchat story that we were out. Ellie replied to it on the Snapchat story saying, "Can I come out with you? I've got no one to go out with." And us just being nice, wanting to make a friend and stuff like that. We just said yeah. She turned up, and from then we just carried on with our night out. Little did we know it was all part of a wicked little plan. I only knew her as just a staff member in the biggest nightclub in the town, Manhattan. You'd always see the staff members and you just chat to them, but I never knew her as an actual friend.
Later that night, Jordan says he and Ellie separated after his friend got into a fight. He later went back to a local nightclub to find her.
I was supposed to meet Ellie back in town where she used to work in Manhattan's, and when I got back, she was gone. And I said to them, the staff where she worked, so, because I knew they were her friends, I said, like, do you know where Ellie is? And they said, yeah, she's gone home, she's being sick. So I went out and continued my own night, and then obviously I went home with a completely different female.
A week later, Jordan was arrested on suspicion of rape.
I was just asleep in my bed, and I just woke up and there was just about 6-8 police officers at the bottom of my bed, and they were telling me that I was being arrested for a rape and ABH on my girlfriend. And I was like, I don't have a girlfriend, what is going on about? And they were like, Ellie Williams, and I was like, no. Worst day of my life, you know, no one wants to be arrested for rape. When I got to the police station, they started explaining what was going on, and she was trying to say I raped her on this night out. How can someone actually do this to someone? The evidence is there, I haven't done anything. I said to them, there'll be CCTV, you know, there's pictures, traced my phone. They just wanted to listen to her. I was confused. I said to my mum, like, if I go to prison, I'm not going to be coming out alive, I'm coming out in a box. I going in there as a rapist. You know, it's not going to go down well. And if you're going on a sex offence in prison, you're bound to get some sort of damage put towards you.
The police went on to charge Jordan with rape. He spent 10 weeks in custody, surrounded by convicted sex offenders.
It was making me quite suicidal because I was just ripped away from my family for no reason at all. I was in a cell with an actual convicted paedophile. He told me he pleaded guilty to sending images to an 8-year-old kid. You do not want to be on that wing at all.
Mohammed Ramzan is a local businessman well known in Barrow as Mo Rami. But he barely knew Ellie Williams. She, though, accused him of grooming and trafficking her.
We had really serious allegations of human trafficking, grooming, which the public would expect us to be, you know, addressing in the strongest terms possible.
I got arrested in 2019. It was by the police on the promenade. I actually laughed when they said human trafficking. It just didn't, it was like I'm dreaming. I've not done anything. I've got nothing to worry about. You're handcuffed and you feel them cold cuffs and you're stood on the street for 10 minutes before you even put into a van or a car. Yeah, and for people to see, then it did become very real. And I just thought, bizarre.
Well, we also had some accounts of Miss Williams being trafficked to Amsterdam and to Ibiza. In terms of Amsterdam, initially she said she'd been with her sister and sister's boyfriend. And she said that she'd felt like a gooseberry, and then she'd gone and met Mr. Ramzan and worked in a brothel while she was in Amsterdam.
How can somebody go to this degree of lying? It's like it's related to Taken. It's all put together and you've just thrown my name in the mix. For what reason? It's absolutely crazy. It just doesn't make sense. They had a tag on me. I was on curfew from 7 till 7. I feel disgusted that my name is being tarnished with something like that. I'm an innocent man being persecuted.
I tried ending my life quite a few times because of it.
In prison?
Not in prison, no, but when I come out of prison I did.
Jordan was eventually released from prison after the police were able to prove that he wasn't with Ellie at the time she claimed to have been raped.
Maybe I had rapists put on my house, my windows smashed. At first I didn't want to have a bond with my son, you know, because I didn't want him growing up with, you know, your dad's a rapist, this, that and the other. It wasn't how a normal 18-year-old should have lived their life, being accused of stuff like that.
It's a pretty shocking time that Mr. Trengrove's undergone. I mean, nobody can begin to imagine, you know, getting remanded in custody for something you haven't done to begin with, but then to be put on a sex offenders wing and everything that entails. You know, certainly my heart goes out to him and everything that he's been through. Obviously, the person responsible for that is Eleanor Williams.
I've never had a written apology off the police or anything like that.
So you want an apology from the police?
I would like some sort of apology, yeah, because at the end of the day, it's not just Ellie who ruined my life, it's them as well.
It's been hell. It has been a living hell. I've been a popular person. I've had many businesses in this town. If I used to go on my normal walks, people won't look at me. People were just like distancing themselves. We had our rental properties smashed in town. We had our ice cream vans smashed. They smashed them, smashed the windscreen. Would walk out on the street, people would go shout out to me, pedo. But I was trialed on social media. I was guilty. I was guilty for 3.5 years. And the amount of abuses, honestly, I can show you message requests. I've got over 500. Difficult seeing your children going through that. My 15-year-old at the time was working on the van. A grown lady walked over to a 15-year-old lad, filming him, effing and jeffing him, calling him a paedophile. And he's like, love, I'm 15. And she goes, I don't care, you're all the same, you're all paedophiles.
After examining the evidence, police were able to establish that Ellie's allegations against Mo Rami were false.
It was very easy to disprove what she was saying because all my devices there, my bank accounts are there, my movements were there, family, friends, CCTV.
Mr. Ramzan assisted the investigation throughout and provided his banking records, and we were able to prove at the time that he was allegedly trafficking Miss Williams in Amsterdam. He was actually buying things in B&Q and Asda in Barron Furnace. When we got evidence from her sister and her sister's boyfriend, who said that she hadn't been out of their sight during the time she was there with them, that then changed to the fact that she'd said she'd sneaked out of the hotel room to go and work in a brothel.
Police found that Ellie had created fake social media accounts and altered contacts on her phone to give the impression that she was being contacted and targeted online.
Miss Williams had gone to an elaborate set of plans that she'd put in motion using fictitious people and live people by using Snapchat, which automatically deleted, by taking screenshots she was alleging were from traffickers, by attributing names to people that it wasn't that person. You know, Mr. Ramzan was a prime example.
The police discovered that Ellie was even writing some of those messages to herself and covering her tracks, but some of them were so over the top they raised suspicions.
Well, some of the messages on that case were overwhelming and messages of a tone that I had never witnessed in my 20 years of prosecuting. We worked closely with the police, and of course they were thoroughly investigated, and it transpired that the provenance of those messages was not as we originally thought.
CCTV also proved a crucial part of the investigation.
Miss Williams was saying about things that happened going back to when she was 12 years old. So I chose to focus on the most recent events reported, which was a trip to Blackpool, where she reported that she'd been to 4 what she called sex parties, where she'd been abused and sold for money. But she'd actually booked herself into a hotel. You can see Miss Williams booking into the hotel, and you can see her going off into a room. And we found that she'd been out twice out of that room in the night. Once to get some sweets at a shop. And once to buy a pot noodle. And the rest of the time it would appear she'd been in a room listening to podcasts. We found she hadn't been to any parties anywhere.
By the time Ellie's Facebook post, which captivated the community and spread around the world, was posted, the police had already established that she was lying. They then turned their attention to the story she posted online and the shocking images she posted with it.
She was found in a field after she'd been reported missing. She gave an account of being raped by a number of Asian men at a house in Barrow-in-Furness. I sent a search team into the field where she'd been found, and a hammer was recovered very close by to where she was found, which was found to be blood-stained. And later forensic testing showed it was her DNA and her blood etched on the hammer. We then started making inquiries about that type of hammer, and when we made inquiries at Tesco in Barrow, we found that Miss Williams was on CCTV actually purchasing the identical hammer some days earlier prior to this incident.
It transpired that she had used the hammer to inflict the injuries in her photos on herself. The photos that fooled so many.
It became obvious that she was definitely telling lies, and that was at the point when I had to make a decision to arrest her and put these lies to her and get an account. Safeguarding has been at the top of our agenda right from the very outset and right till the end. I felt that the only way that we were going to stop her committing further offences, harming herself further, was to get her charged and remanded in custody.
I haven't come across a case like this in 20 years of prosecuting. I was the reviewing lawyer in this matter, and I authorised the police to charge Miss Williams with the counts that she faced.
Ellie was charged with perverting the course of justice.
I'm Anna Bradshaw. I defend clients who are accused of criminal offences. The offence of perverting the course of justice has a life sentence maximum. You very rarely see it charged, and that is because it is a very serious offence. Instead, what you might see are a variety of other offences being charged. For example, the offence of wasting police time, which is considerably less serious. The bottom line is the offence is reserved for the most serious types of interference with the administration of justice.
What it means is that you have done something that has jeopardized somebody else's liberty because of the allegations that you made, which you knew to be untrue. That is a really heinous thing to do. And that's why the state has to prosecute these cases.
What was it in this case that made you think that that bar had been exceeded?
Well, there were lies that were told, repeated lies, and the men that the lies were told against have suffered immensely. The evidence was so overwhelming that we had no other option other than to prosecute.
Cumbrian police, I'll commend them, and I commended them at the time. They carried a really thorough investigation. They didn't simply say, I don't believe you, let's prove or not prove what you said. And they found all the evidence that demonstrated to a jury that she was lying, and that's a credit to them.
In January 2023, Eleanor Williams was found guilty of perverting the course of justice.
It was just a big relief, like, we've cleared ourselves, you know. A lot of smiles that day. Quite a lot of smiles. We've done it, it's been all exposed now. We've finally got our justice, and we've proved that we've done nothing wrong. The shop's only around the corner. I wouldn't walk there on my own, but now I feel like I could do that. This verdict's just turned me into a completely different person already. I have a completely different outlook on life now. It's just mad how one day can change my life.
Eleanor Williams, please stand up.
In March 2023, Eleanor Williams was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison.
The harm of this offending extends to an undermining of public confidence in the criminal justice system. We are aware that sex trafficking of young females does occur. There is a risk that genuine victims will, as a result of this defendant's actions, feel deterred from reporting it.
Ellie Williams had written a letter to the judge. In it, she said she was sorry, saying, "I know I've done wrong over some of this," but she doesn't admit she was guilty.
I was just expecting a longer prison sentence for Ellie, and you know, I think the judge has been really fair in taking into account her age and her vulnerabilities.
And as a mother, it's really difficult to accept that she is responsible for all the things that is said, but in the eyes of the law, I've got to accept that. As you know, there's an appeal going in, so that we'll just have to wait and see what happens from that.
On a daily basis, I deal with genuine survivors of rape and serious sexual offences, and I would hate for this case to be a deterrent to genuine victims to come forward. We would never prosecute an individual who came forward, for example, where there were inconsistencies in the evidence, or, for example, where a genuine complainant of rape withdrew support, so I would urge those people to come forward.
There will be occasions, rare occasions, like the one we have here, where somebody simply makes it all up. But it has to be said, this is rare. That when we did some research when I was in the prosecution service 10 years ago now, we found that only 1 in 300 cases of sexual offences were lies. We could were provable lies.
It's very, very difficult for a victim to come forward and to be believed. My name is Sammy Woodhouse and I've been an activist for about 10 years now. I was groomed mentally, physically and sexually as a 14-year-old child, and I had a child from that exploitation. Being groomed and raped, exploited, abused, it's totally life-changing. It's affected me in so many different ways. Education, friendships, relationships, mental health. It just feels for me like every single day you have to wake up and have to fight for something, and most of the time it's just to be able to get out of that bed and just to be able to put on that smile and just to be able to function. When you come forward and you go through that process of the investigation, the court case, it's daunting. It's something that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. On top of that, when you see a case like this and to see a nation just completely switch on Sunday, I think it's going to put off a lot of people from coming forward. It's not very often that someone will come forward and lie about it. Of course, there are some rare cases, but I think what's important is that we focus on the people that are telling the truth. I think Ellie Williams has definitely been through something in her life. I think it needs to be looked at again, but what's not okay is lying about other people. You can't go around making allegations like that up. It can completely ruin someone's life.
She destroyed and took so much light of my life away from me, and I'll never ever forget what she did, and I'll never forgive her. I want to know why. I would love to know why me.
Fundraiser Shane, who raised £22,000 for Ellie, now believes he was misled by the claims she made. By the time she was convicted, he'd already transferred the money to Ellie's mother, Alison. Alison declined to comment.
I was honest with Ellie's mum on the phone, and I said I've changed my mind. And now that I realise how it is, I need to offer the same support for the real victims, and that's what I've been doing.
How does it sit on the cable? That's my question.
Oh, you got this. You got to think of the big bar. That ain't dropping. I'm not that fat.
He messaged me saying, "Listen, I'm the fundraiser, and I'm sorry for it all," and that. And then we just ended up chatting, and then since then we've just been supporting each other, and we've just became really good friends from it. Like.
Don't gas while you're up in the air.
He was just dragged into it as much as we were, you know what I mean?
It has been very difficult, very, very difficult. I don't hope no man goes through this.
Has it changed you as a person?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. You're not the people that love you, your family, your brothers, your sisters, your husband, your wife. I'm scared of people now. I've lost trust in humanity in a sense, to be honest with you, to having to go through this. And I'm sure it's not going to stay like this, because now everything's coming out, and now you can start. I'm getting my life back now.